speaker series to put the spotlight on the educational highlight of the Southern Indiana community, IU Southeast. We, as an institution, have some of the area's greatest thinkers and doers, not only in our staff and faculty, but also amongst our student population. These individuals are not only a representation of the local educational climate, but they are a representation of the local brand of IUS as a community. By showcasing the talent and scholarly opportunities that IU Southeast offers, we share an environment of specialized, substantial higher education practices and continuous learning at Indiana University Southeast. Founded in the spring of 2014, GUSTalks provides a unique opportunity to unite a community to celebrate one of our area's greatest assets. The Student Government Association at IU Southeast is excited to be able to present GUSTalks to the community as a whole.
At this time, we would like to introduce our host, our Interim Chancellor, Ms. Barbara Bishop.
Thank you and welcome, and I am so honored to be here tonight and serving as host. Let me start by just acknowledging the two IUS students who are walking off of the stage right now and the committee. I know they've already had the SGA leaders stand and be recognized, but I want to talk about the GUSTalks committee just a bit. If you look in your program under the special thanks, you'll see the committee listed, and it's Stephanie Collins, the chair of the event, Dayon Tominich, who is event co-chair, Michaela Dale, Stuart Nordoff, Stefan Moore, and Jody Johnson, as well as Brittany Murray, Emily Couch, Kyle House, Kyra King, and Ryan Malone. I just want to tell you a little bit of a story about this event. I can not quite remember how many months ago, but it wasn't very many months ago, where these energetic folks came into my office and we sat and we talked, and they said they wanted to do something to showcase the quality of the faculty and the quality of the experience that they have at IU Southeast. And I was just so touched by them doing that. They had a whole bunch of inspiration and a whole bunch of energy, and when they started this, they were going to have 3 of these in the spring, and they were going to reach out to so many people, and there were going to be so many programs, and I had to say, now wait. Let's start a little bit. Let's start and learn and grow. One of the things I love, which I'll talk about in a little bit, is the name GUSTalks and how they came up with that, because that to me is maybe one of the most priceless aspects of this entire program. But I just want to recognize the fact as we're sitting here, this is an inaugural event. This is a big deal. This isn't easy to pull off. It's not easy to do. They had an idea. They had something they were proud of in this institution. They started working really hard. It started with them. They believed in themselves. They believed in the idea. They were willing to ask for help along the way. They were willing to go ahead and move when they didn't know what they were doing exactly. They were willing to learn new things as they went. They were moving forward at all times. They were working together. They were committed to their idea, and they made it happen. How many times have you in your life taken absolutely nothing and turned it into something and made it happen? I give them a whole lot of credit for this, so I just like to applaud what they've done again. So. One of the things when I mentioned that they didn't quite actually know what they were doing, but they decided to go ahead and do it anyway, was the idea of actually finding funding for an event like this. And they came into my office one day and they said, we know this is a great idea. We have a whole program. We're going to make this happen. And I said, and how much is it going to cost? And they said, well, we have a budget for that. And I said, great, and where's the money going to come from? And they said, well, we're coming to you. And I said, and yes, here I am. And I said, do you believe in this idea? And they said, yes, we do. And I said, who have you asked besides me? And they said, nobody yet. So I sent them over to our development office and Melissa Wiesinger, who I thank, and we'll be talking about a little bit, talking in a moment. And Melissa talked to them a little bit about how to go out and make an ask. And I said, okay, you guys, here's the deal. I will sponsor you for the full amount of this, but you can't tell anybody. You have to go and you have to make your asks. and you have to tell them why this is important, and you have to sell them on this. And they did. And every couple of weeks they would report in that they were a third of the way to the goal, they were halfway to the goal, they were at goal, they had exceeded goal, they had doubled goal in terms of what they were fundraising. And again, I'm so incredibly impressed and proud of the way that they were able to go out and take an idea, take something that was an inspiration and turn it into a reality and get people behind them. What you're going to see in the program tonight is an introduction of various sponsors of the event, and let them talk a minute about what their offices do and how they support Indiana University Southeast and our faculty and our students. And again, I want to recognize and thank all of them. I'll thank them again later, just for the fact that they were willing to take the time to listen to young people who are really excited about an idea and figure out how they can support that and turn that into reality. And with that, the first office I'll introduce is the Office of Student Affairs, will be represented by Amanda Stone-Cypher.
Good evening. On behalf of Student Affairs, welcome to an evening, and for our guests from off campus, welcome to campus. Student Affairs is a critical aspect of the higher education experience. The work done by Student Affairs professionals at IU Southeast helps students begin a lifetime journey of learning, growth, and self-exploration. As you will experience tonight, student learning just does not happen in the classroom. Opportunities for teaching and development exist everywhere on campus, and it's our job to seize these moments. The role of Student Affairs is to foster and promote both in and out of classroom interactions. We encourage an understanding and a respect for diversity, a belief in the worth of all individuals, and promote many different avenues of support for our students. Student Affairs at IU Southeast is comprised of athletics, admissions, campus life, career development, financial aid, mentoring, personal counseling, and residence life and housing. And all of these areas are pleased and proud to support this evening and all of the students who have put this forth. So again, we are excited to welcome you and just to get a glimpse tonight of the immense talent that we have at IU Southeast. Thank you, and again for our guests, welcome to campus. Enjoy your evening.
We decided that you guys should have something to show for the fact that you were so gracious to help us out. So we want you to tell everybody how amazed you think the students are with this. So thank you. That one's it.
All right, so without further ado, our first speaker. I am so honored to get to introduce Dr. Bernardo Carducci, otherwise known as Bernie Carducci. Now I'll say, in my year as interim, I have heard so many things about so many great and wonderful people on this campus, and everything that I've heard is true. Some folks, most of the presenters tonight, their reputations have preceded them. And when you hear their biographies, you'll understand why. Bernie Carducci, who is a graduate of Kansas State University, and let me just say as a Jayhawk, this is just between us. I wish you well in the upcoming game against Kentucky. Just have to say it. Don't often root for K-State, but got to this week. Bernie has taught at IU Southeast for the past 34 years. He's a full professor in the Department of Psychology, and he's the director of the Shyness Research Institute at IU Southeast. He's a fellow in the American Psychological Association, and he's a prolific writer and speaker and presenter. He's the author of The Pocket Guide to Making Successful Small Talk, How to Talk to Anyone, Anytime, Anywhere About Anything. He's written books Shyness, A Bold New Approach. He's written a book, The Shyness Breakthrough, a no-stress plan to help your shy child warm up, open up, and join the fun. He's written The Shyness Workbook, 30 Days to Dealing Effectively with Shyness, the Shyness Workbook for Teens. See a theme here. The Psychology of Personality, Viewpoints, Research, and Applications, which is a textbook for the college-level student. He's appeared on ABC's Good Morning America. He's appeared on the BBC. He has written and has provided advice and feature columns in Psychology Today, U.S. News and World Report, USA Weekend Magazine, Vogue, Allure, Glamour, Jet, Good Housekeeping, Reader's Digest, Redbook. I can't even name them all in this moment. Chicago Tribune, the Wall Street Journal. we are truly honored tonight to have as our opening speaker for the inaugural GUSTalks, Dr. Bernardo Carducci. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Grazie mille amici. You have now heard 98% of my Italian. For the past 34 years, I've been able to do literally everything I ever wanted to do and hope to do as an academic here at IUS. So in gratitude for that, when they asked me, would you be willing to do a GUST talk, that was a no-brainer. I said, absolutely, I'd be more than happy to do this. So let me say how honored I am to be a part of this first class here of GUST speakers. I also want to extend a warm welcome to all of the community members that are here today, parents, students, both on our campus and from off our campus. And I'm hoping that today we'll start a long association with IUS like I've had. Since I'm having the opportunity to meet lots of you today on your initial early voyage as an academic here at IUS, I thought it only fair that you had the possibility of seeing me when I first came to IUS. So this is what I looked like when I came to IUS 34 years ago. When I came to IUS 34 years ago, I knew I was coming to the right place. When I came here for my interview, I came here Derby weekend. There was no hotel for me, so I stayed in somebody's home. But I knew that this was the place for me. These were my people. I knew because these people were like me. I was the first in my family to go to college. I was a commuter student as an undergraduate and most of my graduate years. I worked full-time as a student. I had a family as a student as well. So I think I was very much like many of the students here when I came to IUS 34 years ago. Coming to college changed my life. It gave me some wonderful opportunities. And I've always tried to remember that. I've always tried to be grateful for the chance that I was given to go to college. So what I want to do today is talk a little bit about how grateful I am for that opportunity and to encourage others to do the same. And anytime I'm asked to speak, what I try to do is not only focus on the value of college, but the responsibility of college as well, the civic responsibility of college and the college education. So anytime you talk about civic responsibility, you have to have the great quote by President Kennedy's inaugural address when he said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. That was, I think, one of the most powerful calls to civic responsibility. But even before President Kennedy, Winston Churchill said, we make a living by what we get, we make a life by what we give. What Churchill was saying is he was going beyond what President Kennedy said. Kennedy told you what to do. Churchill told you how to do it. He said what we want is to make a life by what we give. So let me talk a little bit about Churchill's quote here today. First, let's talk about what you will get as a college student. As a college student, what you will acquire is a set of highly valued skills that will make it possible for you to make a wonderful living. This is a list of some recent research looking at the top 10 skills that employers desire when they're hiring people with bachelor's degrees in a sort of major. You will get all of these skills through your coursework here at IUS. So what you'll get is the chance, the skills to make a living. In addition to getting these skills, what you will also get is the opportunity to make a very good living. What we know is that the difference between having a college degree and not having a college degree is over $350,000 to $1 million in salary and benefits. So when we talk about the quickest way to be a millionaire, it's not to get on some stupid game show. It's to go to college. And this is the average salary. Because you're here today, you're in college and you're here today at this lecture trying to get additional information, this says that you are an above average student and that your living, what you will get, will be even more. So we always tell students, rest assured that you will be well compensated for all those hours that you spent studying, for all those hours that you spent sacrificing. Now, the second half of Churchill's statement is, we make a living, we make a life by what you give. As a college student, as a college graduate, what you'll have to do is have the opportunity to give back. But when giving back, what you also will have the responsibility to do is give back with expressions of growth, understanding, and social responsibility. The life that you will create for yourself in this world after you graduate from college will allow you to give back to the community all that you have been given. What you'll have the opportunity to give back is this valuable set of skills that you have acquired. And what I want to do now is talk a little bit about how you will acquire those skills, where you will acquire those skills, but also more importantly, how they should be expressed in terms of growth, understanding, and responsibility. So let's take a moment just to talk a little bit about some of these courses that you will take here and what you will learn, and what you will have a chance to give. Through your Mathematics and Research Methods course, what you will learn is to design, research, and analyze data. You will learn to think critically. You will learn to analyze problems, to dissect problems. This is one of the most important skills you will acquire here as a college student. They do alumni surveys and they ask students as they're going through college or recent graduate, what classes did you like the least? And always the students say math, science courses. What's interesting is you survey these people 5 years later and you ask them, what were the classes that helped you get the job that you have today and move up in the job that you have today? Guess what they say? Your math and your science courses. So with these skills, again, we hope that you will express with gusto, help others to make important decisions based on systematic assessment. You will use this knowledge to help people address critical problems in their everyday life and help them to think critically. Through the arts and the humanities, what you will acquire is information on variation and creative expression. You will come to understand the variety of ways people seek to connect with each other through various sensory modalities, whether that modality is print, whether it's music, whether it's sculptured art, whether it's painted art. You will learn various ways of communication. With this knowledge, you will help others to communicate in their lives their views so that everybody gets heard. You will help to facilitate the communication of all people, not just those people who yell the loudest or push the most. In the study of psychology, you will get an understanding of the nature of the dynamics of behavior. You will get an understanding of mental processes. You will get an understanding and an appreciation of the complexities of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors of individuals. You will learn a lot about individual differences in expression. This will help you lead others to embrace individual differences in the way that people think, in the way that people feel, and the way that people behave while we search for common tendencies. This understanding of individual differences, this appreciation of individual differences is so important as our world becomes more diverse. In your social science courses, you will learn about the reciprocal individual group influences. You will learn and understand how the individual can influence the group, but also how the group serves to influence the individual. You will learn about these dynamics that help promote interpersonal relationships among people. You will learn to use this to help you create a more civil society. As an expression of GUS, you will help people to reduce the hate and the hurt individuals inflict on one another and promote individuals helping and loving each other more. In business courses, you will learn about the impact and the nature of work. You will learn to understand how and why people work. This knowledge of work is very critical as technology increases. It used to be that the only thing that we did more than sleep was work. Now with advances in technology, what we have is that distinction being blurred. So as an expression of GUS, you will use this knowledge to help others understand how work contributes to our sense of identity and the quality of our lives. You will learn to help people not just to work to make a living, but learn to work to help improve not only the quality of their lives, but the lives of other people as well. In your education courses, you will acquire knowledge about principles of learning and mental processes. You will understand how people learn and how people think. As an expression of GUS, you will use this knowledge to help teach others how to employ effective behavioral and cognitive strategies to deal with everyday problems. Whether those problems are learning how to read or whether learning how to teach others to learn to read as well. Learning to help people deal with these day-to-day challenges is extremely important given that the nature of these challenges are changing with technology. As technology makes these changes occur faster and faster and faster, people are going to need help learning to adjust and respond to these challenges. And folks who have knowledge of education will be especially attuned to helping individuals do just that. Through courses in special education, what you learn is you understand the nature of special needs. You learn to understand, to respond to variations in abilities. Not everybody learns and thinks at the same way and at the same rate. Individuals who study special education will have the added skill of above average empathy. One of the things that we know is that people who enter this field are those who are highly concerned with others. So you have this high level of empathy to help you deal with this very, very difficult task. As expressions of GUS, what you will do is support those with special needs. You will help those people with special needs to reach their full potential, as well as to inspire others to treat individuals with these special needs with compassion and understanding. In your courses in the biological and physical sciences, you'll learn the basis of behavior and mental processes. You'll learn to understand the connectedness of the brain, the body, and behavior. As expressions of GUS, you'll help others to understand the value of complex systems, whether or not those complex systems involve neurons, cellular structures, rock formations, geographic connections, communities, countries, or nations. You will help people to understand how complex systems work and should work so that these systems can work together so that everybody achieves success. However, I think the most important lesson you learn in college, the core lesson you learn in college, as you acquire knowledge, as you understand and see the complexity of what you're studying, is you understand that there are no simple answers. The more you learn, the more you understand that things are complex, that things are hard. And what I think that teaches you, the most valuable skill that teaches you, is to develop a tolerance for and appreciation of ambiguity and the diversity of ideas and opinions. One of the things that frustrates students so much is when they ask us a question, we never give you a straight answer. We always say it depends, because it depends on so many things. And the good students understand that. They get that there are no easy answers. So as an expression of GUST, I hope you will help others to develop a healthy tolerance of an appreciation for the diversity of ideas and opinions. Developing a healthy tolerance and appreciation for diversity of ideas and opinion is the precursor to developing an all-inclusive society where everybody's opinion counts, where everybody's opinions matter. This helps to produce a more equitable society where everybody will be able to have the opportunities for success that you're going to have. So, in closing, I say, you cannot spell gusto without Gus. The same should be said about the life that you live. You will be given some really valuable skills. And what your civic responsibility is to make a life that is filled with gusto. Live your life with gusto, using all the knowledge and the skills and abilities that you have been given through your college education. With that, I say thank you, and I do appreciate being asked to be a member of the first class of GUSTalks. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bernie. It was wonderful. Two of our additional sponsors are the IU Foundation, and Melissa Wiesinger will represent the foundation and give us a little background on them. Melissa?
At the bottom, social needs, that these are actually the most important needs for humans, are social needs. And also, they're starting to find out that you use the analytical part of your brain first whenever you're taking in information like you are tonight. But probably when you guys get a minute after these talks to think tonight, what's going to become active are the social parts of your brain. And you're going to change from information receivers to information givers. So although what you're doing here tonight is valuable, also in the context of these GUSTalks, you're going to go out and give that information to other people, and that's what we are the best at as humans. And so this all fits with our theme, and I just wanted to say that from the perspective of the IU Foundation, because everything that is here at IU Southeast, we owe to what someone else has given to us. And we have some very generous people who voluntarily support our university. And for those of you who are here visiting us tonight, hopefully at some point if you enroll here as a student or if you participate in things here as a community member, you'll have the opportunity to see the impact of what it is that our donors and our volunteers do for us. And the very seats that you're sitting in tonight are here because somebody was generous enough to support the university. So if someday, after you've reaped all the benefits of being a part of our community in IU Southeast, you feel like that you're able to give back too, we'd love to hear from you. And thanks again for being here. We appreciate it a lot.
Good evening. Welcome to all community members and future IU Southeast alumni members. Thank you to welcome to the campus community tonight. Early on tonight in the introduction, Dejan talked about the IU Southeast brand, and I do want to remind you how much of that brand is out there and how many opportunities there are for you to interact with that brand. We have over 23,000 alumni, and 82% of those alumni remain in this area, in this region. And they hold positions throughout the community, from everything from doctors, lawyers, professors, to nurses, nurse practitioners, and there are the great connections for anyone who is part of this university to learn from and to work with and to grow with. So we hope you all become IU Southeast alumni members, and we welcome you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lynn. Right, our second speaker in our inaugural Gust Talks is Dean Gloria Murray of the School of Education. Now, let me talk a little, don't get up yet. Sorry. Let me talk a little bit about Dean Murray and just the act of being Dean of a School of Education. There's probably not many more thankless jobs, I think, in a university than being a dean of a school, because what you do is make sure that faculty and staff members and students have everything that they need in an era and environment of scarce resources to get done what they need to do. But that's probably further complicated when you're in a school of education where you're not only supporting the faculty and the students, you're supporting the students and the faculty who teach other teachers to teach. And the ripple effect is tremendous, but the resources are always minimal because we all think of education simply as a service and not as the very cost-intensive work that it is. And Dean Murray has been serving as Dean of our School of Education since 2001. She's got about 13 years of experience in this community, in the greater Louisville area and southern Indiana, of going out, of making sure that our students are doing their student teaching well, that people are supporting them, that are watching their placements, that they're coordinating with other teachers in high schools and secondary schools, and that the work they do is excellent for the students, and we have a phenomenal reputation of our School of Education in this region. Gloria's been responsible as leader for the budget, the personnel, the curriculum. She has consulted and worked with and served on boards such as the Carnegie Center for Art and History Board, the Louisville Northeast YMCA Board of Directors, the New Albany Floyd County Education Foundation. While she's doing that work, serves as a reviewer for other schools of education for the Higher Learning Commission. She works with the Jefferson County Public Schools Human Services Education and International Studies Design Team. She's been I'm sorry, I'm going so fast, you probably can't keep up. Recipient of the State of Indiana Council of the Sagamore and Wabash, which is a huge honor in the state of Indiana, I know. She has received the IUS Diversity Award in 2008. She publishes and continues to do research in the areas of school leadership and cultural diversity, and her research interests are diversity and using biographies as a teaching tool. She's presented over 35 state and local conferences and 20 national and international conferences, all while she continues to serve the school and the campus and the community. So I'm so honored to have you here tonight. So now you can come on up here.
Good evening. It is really a pleasure to be here. Let me begin. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here with you. I'm a teacher, and I'm proud of it. I'm a student always. I believe in the value and the worth of public education. I believe in the power of the teacher and the student voice. I am here because I want to bring forward the voice of the teacher and the student. You see, I accept that I am both a teacher and a student, and each of you are both teacher and student. I believe I can learn from you, and that I hope what I say this evening, you will learn something from me, and together we become a community of learners. My presentation is about the role of teachers in social responsibility. Today, when people think about teachers, certain images come to mind. Some are vivid, some humorous, enlightening, others could be sad, fearful. Some images may bring anger, disappointment, or great joy. When we think of the education we received in our early years, in retrospect, we may judge it as excellent, good, okay, bad, and so forth. But have you thought of your education as an act of freedom? How many of us have the opportunity to be with a teacher who, as Carrie Warfield stated in the book, Why We Teach, she talked about being a life toucher, a teacher who saw teaching as the practice of freedom, who saw the profession as sacred, who believed that teaching is more than sharing information, but about sharing in the intellectual and spiritual growth of their students. A teacher who respected and cared for the souls of their students. I certainly hope some of you ran across a few of those kinds of teachers in your lifetime. We know they're here at IUS. But this is not unusual. But usually this is not how teachers are described. Rarely does one examine sometimes or pause to think about the teacher's role in social responsibility. There's no state standards for this, and there's no test for this. Today, most of the discourse in the news or everyday conversations is about testing, test scores, examinations, more tests, homework, assignments, and more tests. This evening, I want to begin to expand and describe the teacher who practices social responsibility. Social responsibility means different things in different worlds and professions. There's a corporate or group social responsibility, and there's an individual social responsibility. Corporations donate money or support activities through sponsorships. If you visit the Kentucky Center for the Arts, for example, there's a large wall plaque with the corporate and individual names of people who have given money to the Kentucky Center. How many of you volunteer? Some corporations plan activities for their employees to volunteer, such as helping build a home for Habitat for Humanity. And what about individual social responsibility? How many of you volunteer in your own communities? I certainly do. Maybe you pick up trash along the river, paint a home for an elderly person, or help build a school, or help build playground material or places for a school. Doing things for society, for some, is a responsibility, a duty to society. Some see this as a way to give back in appreciation for all that they have been given in life. Social responsibility is about making a difference. All of these efforts are important and beneficial to the society, to the individual who delivers the service, as well as to the receiver. As I describe the role of the teacher in social responsibility, there are two takeaways I hope you will consider. First, a teacher's role in social responsibility reaches beyond the classroom. The magnitude of the power of a teacher can change the world. Secondly, the mission of a teacher who accepts their social responsibility, their responsibility role, eclipses tests, techniques, and exams. The mission is freedom. I would like to take a few minutes to present to you the following image of good teaching as an act of social responsibility. First, I'd like to give you an example as told by Bell Hooks. In her book, Teaching to Transgress, Bell Hooks spent her early schooling years, in a segregated school. Most of her teachers were African American women. She stated that her teachers were enacting a revolutionary pedagogy of resistance of the status quo in America. She further states that in these segregated black schools, children who were deemed exceptionally bright were given special care. They were worked with to make sure they would fulfill their intellectual destiny, and by doing so, uplift the race. Her teachers were on a mission. To fulfill that mission, her teachers knew their children, knew their children's parents, their economic status, where they worshiped, what their homes were like. After integration, she experienced something totally different. Knowledge was about information only. It no longer related to how she lived or how she behaved. It was no longer connected to the anti-racist struggle in America. She learned that obedience was expected, and too much eagerness to learn could be seen as a threat to white authority. For black children, education was no longer about the practice of freedom. She quickly lost her love of school. You see, before integration, she believed she had teachers who were life touchers. Her experience later disconnected her life from her education. The mission was uncertain. It did not relate to her life. So what was missing in her education? I believe what was missing, and still missing in some places, is the connection between teaching and social responsibility. You see, teachers have a role in social responsibility that goes deeper than collecting cans for Dare to Care, even though that's very important. Bell Hooks states that teaching is about action and reflection upon the world in order to change it. Social responsibility for the teacher is much more than technique, strategies, curriculum, assignments, and so forth. It is creating a space where students are enriched and enhanced. The teacher's role in social responsibility is seeing teaching as saving the world one child at a time. It is an act of making a difference in the life of a person. When teaching is practiced as an act of freedom, it means helping people make sense of the world. When good teaching is practiced as an act of freedom, the teacher is there for the child who needs to be noticed, to be heard, who needs to be cared for. That's social responsibility. Teachers who recognize the power they have will do more than teach students to survive. They will teach their students to ask questions, not just how to get along or accept the status quo. Most students will do that anyway. If we as teachers ask ourselves and our students questions like, are you sure that's true? How do you know? Could things be different? Do you think everyone sees the way you do? Then the teacher is practicing social responsibility by helping their students make the connection between what they are learning and their life experiences. The teacher becomes a student of the life experiences of their students. The teacher becomes a student of the life experiences of their students. A teacher's role in social responsibility is to improve the future by helping people understand that there are different ways of looking at knowledge and truth. At the core of a teacher's social responsibility is this question: is it morally right for me as a teacher to witness injustice towards students and remain quiet? Again, let me repeat that. Is it morally right for me as a teacher to witness injustice towards students and remain quiet. Last Friday at the New Albany-Floyd County School District's Education Celebration, I watched and listened to a teacher. Her name was Abby Smith. She stood boldly, I thought it was bold anyway, she stood boldly in front of hundreds of people and declared that poverty impacts the future of students in her classroom. She took on the poverty battle. She said to the crowd that they could make a difference. She said, I teach them more than how to do math. I teach them that clothes do not determine their worth, for example. She understood that children in our nation attend vastly different schools based largely on where they live, and where they live is based largely on their finances, color of their skin, the language they speak, and that all of these things determine the resources they have access to in schools. She quoted Margaret Mead, which I thought was just wonderful, especially in this crowd where we were. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Unless we take social responsibility for eliminating poverty, the cycle of poverty will never end. Several years ago, in 2005, myself and several IUS colleagues and members of the community came together to make an impact on literacy in the New Albany community. None of us were literacy experts, but we knew that early literacy intervention might make a difference in the life of poor children. A grant was received to work with parents and teachers and community organizations to get books into the hands of children who were living in poverty. A book a month arrived in the mail every month for these children. Over 3,000 books every month were mailed to these children. Well, you know, like grants, they end. But the effort did not. Through generous donations, right now, every child born in New Albany from birth to 5 years old receives a book a month. Over 6,000 books go out to families in this community every month. This is what Margaret Mead meant, and this is what Abby Smith spoke about last Friday. A teacher's role in social responsibility is to advocate for children. And before I go on, this is the pamphlet that any of you can have before you leave. It's the Horseshoe Foundation of Floyd County Presents the Gift That Speaks Volumes for the Community of the Future. It is an application for parents to fill out to make sure their kid gets a book every month, starting at birth. I must tell you, these books are delivered to the hospitals. So when a mother leaves the hospital, she's got the books ready to read to her newborn. It happens just like that. So, a teacher's role in social responsibility is to advocate for children, to see teaching as an act of resistance to boredom, uninterest, and apathy. Teaching is the courage to challenge mainstream knowledge. It is an investment in the well-being of others. You know, a teacher engaged in social responsibility will lobby. They'll speak up where there is injustice. They'll work a picket line and sign petitions if it will make a difference in the lives of their students. Social responsibility begins in the heart, especially for teachers when they make that connection with their students. When they desire a school where students learn and change the world. Teachers' role in social responsibility is about social justice for every student. They care about students dying young, going hungry, or living meaningless lives. A teacher's role in social responsibility is about becoming more fully human and using their classrooms to work in service of students. A teacher's role in social responsibility begins with a personal commitment to serve students, to enrich and enhance their lives. School of Education is working hard to develop teachers who take their social responsibilities seriously. We've adopted certain proficiencies. We want and desire our candidates, that's what we call our students, candidates, to learn about and respect diverse learners and their families, to understand social disparities that affect students and apply social justice within the classroom and the school, to create an inclusive learning community where differences are respected, and to examine and reflect on personal practices to reduce bias and stereotypes within their work. As I move to take my seat, I first want to thank the Student Government Association for developing this program and letting me share my thoughts with you. I appreciate working with my colleagues and being with each of you. I began this speech with two takeaways I wanted you to consider. A teacher's role in social responsibility reaches beyond the classroom. It can change the world. This change can't be done alone, but requires community. Secondly, the mission of teaching should be freedom, the type of freedom each of us deserves, so we can know who we are, be who we are, to question, and the freedom to make a difference in the world. And for a teacher, that can be one child at a time. Thank you very much.
We also have another sponsor that we want to recognize, and that is the IU Southeast Library, and we'd like to also recognize the Office of Residence Life and Housing. Marty, would you like to say anything about the IU Southeast Library? Don't leave the phone.
Give it up for Marty Rosen.
Yeah.
I wasn't planning to make any remarks, but I have to say that the Chancellor is exactly right about this committee. They did a spectacular job. I think one of the things they probably learned is that the people who have money are usually not in their offices. I know that Dejan chased me for weeks, if not months, trying to get me to sit down so that he could explain what was going on with this program. And when he did, it was pretty clear that it was something that we stand for as well. Library. When I became a librarian, I think people thought of libraries as repositories of books, buildings, and it's true, we do have a building, and we have lots of stuff, like books and videos, electronic books, journals, and so forth and so on, but the most important thing we have are people in our building, and our people stand for these things, growth, understanding, and social responsibility, so we're delighted to be the sponsor tonight. Thanks.
And again, we want to recognize the Office of Residence Life and Housing. Amanda Stone-Cipher spoke earlier under the Office of Student Affairs, but we thank you for your sponsorship. So now let me do my last introduction of a speaker for this evening. And again, reputations are what they are. And before I ever got down here, I had met and heard of and learned about Dr. Clifford Staten, but I don't think anything can do justice to what Cliff Staten brings to Indiana University Southeast, whether it's serving in faculty senate leadership role or whether it's bringing hundreds and hundreds of high school students onto campus for engaging international experiences and debate and politics and dynamics. When you hear Cliff's bio, you will appreciate just how important he is to the life of this campus. Cliff Staten received his PhD in political science in 1987 from the University of North Texas, and he taught at the University of Texas and Texas State University prior to coming to IU Southeast in the fall of 1989. From 1999 to July of 2010, he served as the Dean of the School of Social Sciences. He's currently Professor of Political Science and International Studies. He's traveled and studied throughout Mexico, Central America, the Caribbean, and with a special focus on Nicaragua and Cuba, Southern Africa, the Arabian Peninsula, and Western Europe, and he's often taken students with him. Cliff teaches advanced courses on Latin American politics, U.S. foreign policy, international political economy, and terrorism. In addition to writing chapters for several edited volumes, he's written numerous research articles on a wide variety of topics. He's written 2 books, The History of Cuba and The History of Nicaragua, and is working on a forthcoming second edition of The History of Cuba. His most recent research is fascinating to me, and mainly because I've heard about his research through his students. He's working on research related to, I will not do this justice, and good luck spelling this, the Fuerzas Armadas Revolucionarias de Colombia, which focuses on how this revolutionary and terrorist organization adapts to changing political environments. How I heard about that was through a lively conversation among students about the idea that people who are terrorists could become actually the status quo leader and political organizations of a country. Clearly, he rocked their world and shook their minds and made them think in ways they'd never thought before. This is the amazing thing about Dr. Staten. He's received the IUS Distinguished Teaching Award. He's received the IUS Distinguished Research Award. He's received the Chancellor's Diversity Award. He's received the Karl Metz Award for Outstanding Service to the Indiana Academy of Social Sciences. If you know about the Academy, you know that at the heart of what faculty do are teaching, research, and service. To be given honors and awards to be outstanding in all three of those areas is quite phenomenal. He currently serves on the New Albany Human Rights Commission, which, as you know, is a critical group at this moment in time in the history of our society. So, without further ado, I want to introduce Dr. Clifford Staten.
Good evening. How are we tonight? Good? Okay, that's good. All right. The first draft of this was 40 minutes, but anyway, that's okay. First of all, let me thank Bernie and Gloria, colleagues and very good close friends. It's a joy to be on the same stage with them. Let me also thank all of you that came out to the first of these GUSTalks. Also want to thank the student government members, many of whom are my students, and all of the donors and our chancellor. I am truly honored to be part of this event. Okay. I'd like to start tonight talking a little bit about my mom. This fall, she moved in with us because she had reached the point in her life where, at home in West Virginia, she simply couldn't be left alone. So it's taken some time to get used to living with her. Not only are we dealing with some physical limitations, but she's beginning to show some early signs of dementia. But the one thing she really likes to talk about was when I was in high school. And growing up in a small town in West Virginia. For the most of that time, while I was in high school, grade school, and so on, she was secretary of the local American Legion. Now, don't let the title secretary fool you. Okay? As anyone in here knows, secretaries are not just secretaries. They never are. Okay? She was much more. She chaired most of the community projects sponsored by the Legion. See, the American Legion in our hometown, primary purpose was to give back to the community. So my mother, as secretary, oversaw and chaired most of the community projects. Tremendous variety, from sponsoring youth sports teams, providing speakers to the local schools, providing American flags to local organizations, sponsoring academic events, providing scholarships to college, paying the utility bills, medical bills, or even providing a week's worth of groceries for people who are down on their luck or out of work. Interestingly enough, the American Legion is made up of members who have sacrificed, and given much to their country. Yet they joined that organization for the purpose of continuing to give back to their communities and this country. They want to give back to promote the common good. Now, my mother wasn't just in the American Legion. As many of my friends' mothers were active in PTA. She bought our Lily cookies, and let me tell you, they were pretty bad, okay? She worked concession stands at youth events. She helped raise money so that my senior year in high school, the football team got new jerseys. This was a big deal. We got our new jerseys, and we had to promise that we would bring home a state championship. Tall order. We delivered, by the way. I always fulfill promises, especially to Mom. But she did even more. When the neighbors were on vacation, she had the key to get in the house to check on it, to make sure everything was okay. When the neighbors' kids needed washing, they were over and she washed them. No questions asked. This was a way of life. She's told me many, many times how fortunate she was that she had been afforded so many opportunities, and thus it was her duty, she used the word duty, to give back. This is the way she did it. But you see, it wasn't just my mother, my father as well. Korean War vet. He was always, since he was a carpenter, that's one skill I didn't inherit from him, but nonetheless, carpenter who helped construct ball fields, bleachers for high school football fields, and so on. His local labor union would put on a family picnic. They would also help pay for groceries for those that are unfortunate and were having difficulty making ends meet. It wasn't just my mom and dad, though. Parents of all my friends, my neighbors, all throughout town. Let me give you another specific example. My very first job, I was a junior in high school, part-time job. That's 15 hours a week, something like that, if I remember correctly. I got to deliver prescriptions to senior citizens who couldn't come to the drugstore and get their prescriptions. And I typically had anywhere from 10 to 20 in about a 4-hour period. Okay. And after doing this a couple times, I finally asked the owner. I realized that they weren't paying for the delivery. And I finally asked him about that. Why aren't they paying for the delivery? And Mr. Griffith, who was also my neighbor 2 houses down, who owned the drugstore, he put his arm around me and said, I have been truly blessed with this business. Those seniors gave their entire lives to make this community better. This is the least I can do. This is a small way of me saying thank you and giving back to them. You see, here's him speaking, I can hear him now. You see, Clifford, and that's what they call me back in my whole town, Clifford, okay? I prefer Cliff, but nonetheless, you see, Clifford, in this country, and here's his quote, I remember this, individual freedoms come with an obligation. That obligation was to give back to the common good. They laughed, asked me what I was getting out of all these deliveries to these seniors. I kind of laughed and said, well, I have to eat a lot of homemade cookies. I have to sit down and listen to a lot of stories that these seniors want to talk to me about. And usually on the way out, I get a little kiss on the cheek as well. Mr. Griffith said, well, Clifford, one day you'll look back, you'll realize the wisdom that you've gained from taking just a few minutes to deliver prescriptions and to listen to those women, to those seniors. Mr. Griffith was very wise, and I learned a lot. Our small town was not idyllic, but it was a true community. People shared a responsibility or duty, as my mother called it, or as an obligation, as Mr. Griffith called it, to take care of others, to look out for the common good, to give back, and to always sacrifice for the future. You see, this group was part of what Tom Brokaw called America's greatest generation, creating community through their selfless giving, making the community and the country a better place for the future. This was who they were. To put it another way, social responsibility was a way of life for them. Even to this day, when you speak to my mother, who's in rehab right now, she will tell you very clearly, everybody else comes before her. I have inherited this kind of social responsibility culture from my parents, Mr. Griffiths, and all the other adults in my small town. They served as role models for me. Now, most of you know me as a political science professor, and my students, I could pick on them, but I won't, will tell you that in the study of American politics and political culture, we tend to focus on individuals and the rights and freedoms of individuals. And as Americans, we take pride in our freedom to make choices, to pursue opportunities with little interference. Our freedom to speak out, to join groups, to worship as we see fit. We have this strong sense of rugged individualism in America. We laud the so-called self-made man. This is why capitalism fits so well in America, for it also focuses on the individual and the pursuit of individual goals. Put it simply, this is who we are. When we ask Americans who we are, we talk about the importance of the individual and the rights of individuals. As my friend, the late Professor Tom Katulik would say, we are the products of John Locke. This is why we insisted on a Bill of Rights to our Constitution, to make sure that certain key individual rights could not be denied by the government. This is our primary identity, and it is in many ways our gift to the world. But, there's always a but in these types of things. Take a coin, a quarter. Has heads and tails, right? Then let's say that heads of this coin is our primary identity. Our primary identity focuses on the individual and the pursuit of individual freedoms and individual goals. Remember, the coin has two sides, heads and tails. Tails is that other identity, that is social responsibility, that is so well illustrated by my mother and others of America's greatest generation. The key to my point is that our identity is a two-sided coin. Heads is dominant, individualism is dominant, or to put it another way, when we flip the coin, heads tends to come up more often than tails. But nonetheless, there is that other side, tails, that other identity, social responsibility. Unfortunately, at least from my perspective, that side of our identity typically only becomes dominant during times of national crisis, a depression, a major war, a natural disaster, and this may even be generational. Now, you may ask the question, how do I know for sure that heads comes up more than tails? That individualism trumps social responsibility? Well, when I look at policies that focus on the common good in America compared to other wealthy democratic countries, it's clear to me that individualism dominates in America. All you have to do is to compare healthcare systems. All, and I emphasize all other wealthy democracies cover all their citizens, spend less money per citizen, and provide medical care that is at least equal to, if not, in the vast majority of cases, better in terms of quality. How else do I know? Well, perhaps a simpler, perhaps less political observation. When I was growing up in high school, we used to have to take a course called civics. Who had a course in civics? I I see 2, 3 hands. This is normal these days, okay? It is rarely taught today. It is not seen as important. Not important. That's a question. Civics emphasizes an individual's responsibilities to the common good. In other words, put it another way, civics teaches us that an individual's freedom to choose and to make unencumbered decisions comes with a responsibility to the common good. Thus, the two identities, the two sides of the coin, are inseparable and linked together. So here's my first challenge to you, current IUS students and soon to be IUS students. Pursue your individual dreams and goals. Take pride in and fully exercise your individual rights. But while you are here, engage in at least one type of social responsibility project. Work in a soup kitchen. Read in an elementary school class. One social responsibility project. Would all our IUS students and future students please stand up? Would you repeat after me? I accept that challenge, Dr. Staten.
I accept that challenge, Dr. Staten.
Thank you. You can be seated. My second challenge is this, and you can really tell what generation Gloria and Bernie are from. President Kennedy once said, "To whom much is given, much is expected." You know, in Indiana today, only 1 in 5 Hoosiers have a college degree. So after you graduate in 4 years and pursue your individual dreams, remember, all these come with an expectation, a duty, an obligation to exercise social responsibility. In other words, make social responsibility a primary part of your identity, a primary part of your individual culture. Then, you know, when you flip the coin, odds are tails are going to appear as much as heads will appear. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. At this point in time, I'd like to reintroduce our SGA leaders and the GUSTalks committee to do the introduction of our GUSTalks award winners. And again, as we recognize the gift of our faculty here, what an incredible gift to you all who are here to accept awards, to be the first ever, the inaugural award winners of this GUSTalks. So I'll introduce Stephanie Collins and Stefan Moore to do the honors here.
Okay, so don't judge us necessarily, but for Grim Goman, who helped us put a lot of the programming stuff together, and for our Vice Chancellor Justin Merriweather, who wasn't able to be here. But first, let me take a selfie. So we're gonna smile. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you in it? Are you ready? 1, 2. Y'all are fantastic. The Student Government Association is extremely excited to be able to not only place the focus on us as students, on our faculty and staff that are fantastic and we love so much, but it means a lot to us to be able to find and nurture and encourage the future us, because at least for the three of us, only 33% of us will be here in the fall.
The others are graduating, let me clarify.
Sorry, we're so excited to become active alumni that we jumped the gun there. But it means a lot to us to be able to find and nurture students and bring them in, get to know them, get to mingle with them, and allow them to see the IUS culture, which is why we're excited to be able to offer 2 awards tonight. For us, GUST means more than just growth, understanding, and social responsibility. Growth means embracing who you are, and understanding means seizing diversity. For us, social responsibility can be anything. I think Dr. Staten has given us all a charge to do better and to do more and to do more often. But for us, we saw that there were high school students in our area, future Hoosiers by default, and future Grenadiers by choice, who were in our area, and we wanted to recognize them for being awesome. So first, I would like to introduce to you all Jessica Walker from Floyd Central High School. She has a 3.2 GPA. She's a member of the Rotary Club. She's a volunteer and with the fundraising organization. She is ROTC. Oh my gosh, sorry. And she is a founding member of the Floyd Central's Gay Straight Alliance. She enjoys soccer and life science classes. So we would like to present Miss Jessica with the GUSTalks Award. And stay with us, we're going to take photos. But as an active student here at Indiana University, I'm required to say join the SGA. And we also have the Gay Straight Alliance, who just did a really fantastic drag show this past week. They're super active. Find them when you get here. We would also like to recognize another active student in our community, Mr. Brandon Knight. He deserves the IU Southeast GUSTalk Award because he enjoys helping others. He is an IUS student in the fall, planning to study elementary education, and he wants to be a teacher because he enjoys being around children and helping them learn and become better students. Quote, "I believe in every way I can fulfill this goal in life if I simply work hard for it. He feels that if he succeeds, that he will succeed going to college, and when he's finished going through his courses, he can be a great teacher." At this time, we would like to present Brandon. The GUSTalk Award. We're going to take a really fancy picture now. Are you ready? Take a picture. Are you ready? Okay. That was great.
We'd like to actually take one more moment to ask our speakers to come back up so that we can thank you appropriately. So I'd like to ask Dr. Carducci, Dean Murray, and Dr. Staten to rejoin us on the stage. See what they came up with. Some magical thing was happening.
We're really, really honored to be able to bring our faculty and staff who worked so hard in the day and yet stayed after hours asking us for nothing to come and speak. So we wanted to say thank you not only for coming, but for representing our institution in such a fantastic way. And we wanted you to have a little token of our appreciation because you all are a very, very vital piece to making this work. We wanted to say thank you. And we wanted to take a picture. like to say thank you to the Photography Club for taking all of these fantastic pictures. We would like to say thank you to the Horizon for recording, because GUSTalks is actually live streaming right now. So we would like to say a major thank you to Mr. Adam Maxwell, who was behind all of this, to Ms. Jody Johnson for making sure everything got taken care of, and to the IUS Horizon. And finally, to all of the people that Barb's and Just to test our skills out on, we would like to say thank you to all of our donors. If you don't mind, we would like to ask the Office of Student Affairs to come and Res Life, namely Amanda Stonecipher. We would like to thank the IU Foundation, and we ask that you come. We would like to thank the Alumni Association, and we ask that you come. We would like to thank the IU Southeast Library, and we ask that you come, as well as the Office of the Chancellor. We just wanted to give you all a token of our appreciation, to say thank you. You all are fantastic. And of course, we want to take a picture. Let me fix my hair.
But of course.
And thank you for bearing with us on this.
I have the honor of wrapping this up, but to do that I have to put my glasses on. This is the wonderful part of being the Chancellor, is you get the last word. I also want to congratulate our award winners. You have every right to be proud of your accomplishments, and you should be honored by the fact that others in this community, in your schools, and at IU Southeast recognize and appreciate the value of what you do. So congratulations again one more time to you. I want to thank again our speakers, Dr. Carducci and Dr. Staten and Dean Murray. Your presentations were not only informative and entertaining, but they were inspiring, and I had tears in my eyes, and I can't again thank you for being such amazing ambassadors of what this institution is all about and the good this institution does in the world, so thank you. And I think you should be honored that our student organization selected you to be the first faculty here, and that brings up our students. I want to thank you. I want to thank our students and congratulate the organizers of this event. You are the best of what IU Southeast is all about.
We love Barb!
The mission of IU Southeast is to shape the future of our region by transforming good students into great leaders, one graduate at a time. I absolutely love that statement. We shape the future of our region by transforming good students into great leaders, one graduate at a time. Cliff mentioned the fact that back in his days in West Virginia, he was fortunate and privileged to learn from people who were older and wiser than him, who are America's greatest generation, as noted by Tom Brokaw and others. There are some great books written by two gentlemen named Howe and Strauss, who have done studies year after year on generations. It's excellent work if you ever read it. One of the things that you'll know if you read their work, and if you read recent work by the Pew Research Center about millennials, which you all are, is that you are the next great generation. So just as Cliff had the honor of working with those elderly people in his community, I think we all feel very honored. I think I can speak for all the faculty at IU Southeast and Indiana University to say it is such a joy and such a privilege to work with students today. The giving that you do, the leadership you provide, the earnestness of purpose, and the joy with which you live inspire me every day, and I mean that sincerely. I just want you to come out one more time and be recognized for what you've done. So let's give them one last round of applause. It's starting something from nothing, and that is amazing. So let me just talk about the name that is on the screen behind them. Growth, okay. Growth, you keep staying, you just stand there, you soak up the light. You just soak up the light. Growth, understanding, and social responsibility. And I remember when it started and they said, we're gonna do GUSTalks and it's gonna be like TED Talks. And I said, great, what does GUSTalks mean? And they said, we're looking at the dictionary. And that S is really problematic for us. And we don't like that R thing in there, but we're struggling. Let me actually remind you a little bit about who Gus the Grenadier is. And let me talk about how absolutely perfect that acronym came to be. Gus is a grenadier. A grenadier is a Scottish foot soldier, or a foot soldier in the Scottish military, and it's such a tribute to the roots in this community and the history here, and the importance of good and loyal troops. But even the good and loyal soldier is bolstered and bettered by growth and understanding and social responsibility. By growth, a commitment to every day becoming better and more. Understanding, knowing that nothing is to be feared, but only understood. Social responsibility, understanding that the individual in support of the community and the collective is greater than any individual alone. So what did we learn tonight? Number one, I love that because it represents what we are committed to at IU Southeast. We start with a willingness to change, a willingness to be better, a willingness to be different, a lifelong commitment to that. We understand that it starts with us as individuals, with our own understanding, with our own trying to find our place in the world. And we recognize that that only matters if it turns out to be in service of others, as part of our social responsibility. So what did we learn tonight? We learned that growth, that education is about freedom. Thank you, Gloria. We learned that growth is about movement. It's about being able to be free to become all that we can be. We learned that understanding, thank you, Dr. Carducci, is about recognizing that there are no simple answers and there are no easy answers. And the more you know you don't know. And that life is about complexity. And that because it's so complex, we must embrace diversity. And that brings us to social responsibility. We learn the complexity of being in a world where we're all about the individual, but at the same time, we're only as great as those individuals who care about the other. Thank you, Dr. Staten. We learned that it's morally right for us to be engaged not only in service to others, but in recognition of ourselves. We've had a theme this year at Indiana University Southeast that I am so appreciative it's been embraced by so many. We've had a theme about what matters and who matters and where it matters and how it matters. And we've played on that theme throughout the year. I just want to end tonight by recognizing that each and every one of you matters here. I dare say that I matter here as a representative of that importance of the individuality that we all bring to the table. I recognize that we all matter in the collective, and I most importantly want to acknowledge that truly, ultimately, only our relationships matter. So thank you to you all for being incredibly bright and innovative and inspiring young people. Thank you to you all for coming out. Thank you for our sponsors, to our sponsors who made this possible this year. Thank you to those students who are going to pick this theme up. Again, big shoes to fill, but you have them. So that's great. And thank you again to our speakers for truly inspiring us this evening. Thank you again. Good night.
Yeah.